In my print editor's note, I talk about Sarah Ruhl's book, 100 Essays I Don't Have Time to Write, on umbrellas and sword fights, parades and dogs, fire alarms, children, and theater. Specifically, I respond to essay number 54. Do playwrights love the audience, and should they? Which I have to point out I chose completely randomly. In my printed endnote, I respond how I, as a playwright, think about the audience. But it got me to thinking. I see a lot more shows than I write. And I have to admit, there have been times when I have gone to see shows I would rather not have been to. Whether it was to support a friend, or it was a part of a subscription series, or whatever, I have found myself sitting in my seat, begrudgingly staring at the stage, daring the show to impress me. Naturally, this is not the best state to be in if you want to enjoy the theater. So it got me thinking, what do I do to ensure I have the best time I can at the theater? And it turns out there are a couple habits I indulge in order to make sure I'm a receptive audience member. First off, and I'm afraid I'm going to sound a little hippy-dippy here, the first thing I do is try to center myself in the theater space. If I've never been to the theater before, I look at the architecture, I look at the design, I figure out what I like about it, what I think the prettiest part of the theater is. If I have been there before, I try to find the familiar pieces of it. I look for the chip in the railing that hasn't been fixed yet. I follow the Byzantine thread pattern in the soft goods. Or I even just count the bulbs in the house lighting. I do all of this to focus myself on the theater and to remind myself where I am. I'm not back at the office dealing with the hassles there. I'm not replying to emails. I'm not dealing with invoicing. I'm here. I'm in a theater. If I'm in a bad mood, what I don't do is listen to the audience around me. If I'm in a good mood, the conversations can be fun to eavesdrop on. But if I'm in a bad mood, all I can hear is how stupid they are and how banal and pedestrian and blah, blah, blah. The conversations don't change, my attitude does, so I just don't indulge it. That's generally enough to get me to curtain and through the first act, where we encounter the next strict rule I have. I don't discuss shows at intermission. It's not done yet. I don't want to hear what other people think about it because I don't know what I think about it. The play's not complete yet. I'm still trying to figure out what it's supposed to be and how I feel about it. I've discovered that if I talk about a play at intermission, I invariably spend the next act arguing with people in my head about what they said about it, as opposed to experiencing the play itself. Which leads me to my final bad mood buster. Peanut M&Ms. I grab a bag of peanut M&Ms at intermission and polish them off. They taste good and they keep my blood sugar up through the second act so I don't get all hangry. And that's me. How do you combat being in a bad mood at the theater? What little traditions do you follow every time you go to see a show? Let me know in the comments and I'll see you next month.